well to get towards that 12th place. But this starts them off very strongly with the 14 elims, I believe it was, that they got on that last game. You know, that's more than enough to work this one through. You can see there's some more nerves than others on some teams as we make it through to our second match of the day with our GT20 pros taking us into this very nice and easily.
Oh yeah, outplay the rest, and we've certainly seen some outplays today, so you can see that tagline, it's got proof in the pudding. And mate, you're right though, there is such a stark contrast, differences, and you know, I love to look at the body language, the human element of competitive PUBG Mobile. Like, it is really interesting to see how teams contend with it, like if they stay in the flow state, if they're looking straight into the phone, if they're looking at each other, that last minute bit of communication. It is a key point of seeing who's really going to be able to bring that out with the best mentality. Obviously, sometimes mentality only gets you so far, but it is a nice bit to dial in on, especially when we have everyone in such a beautiful arena. Hell yeah, I'm going to take those player cams.
Yeah, dude, 100%. Love to see it on the screen. Well, a lot of teams dropping out towards the center of the playing path here. Bro Harami not having a good time at all. As a Power, I think Power would have to have an unbelievable performance. DRX, on the other hand, they're done. They're absolutely done. 7 matches, 8 points, a 1-point average per game is just brutal. So I think DRX is more than certainly heading through to a survival stage. Alpha 7 though, duking it out towards the top side, currently in that 9th place position. So our cutoff right now would be TJB with 47 points in 12th place. Behind them, probably reasonable for Boom Esports to lap at the moment.
So we'll see what they can bring out, if they can show up again. I like what we saw from Boom, at least in the opening game of the day, man. I feel like there is definitely some innings that they can get some momentum going and be able to build back into it, bud. So, you know, it'd be cool to see as well. Like, they were playing with some Boom in that one.
Yeah, they've got some legs on them, that's for sure. Power currently fielding without Satan in the games, who was their IGL, so curious change. We'll see how it pays off in their matches today. I think that last game, in terms of just decision making though, it looked kind of nice.
Yeah.
It just felt like, again, just some of those gunfights were a little bit difficult for them. Very hard shift on the circle over towards the western side. And the first shift as well, that's big. A lot of water in this one, cutting around about 40% of the circle out in terms of landmass. And there's not a huge amount of good areas to play in this side of the map. There is. It's just more a case of we headed over towards the eastern side around Mansion, Shelter. You have some very key positions. Here it's a lot of times a case of where can you get to that might see you safe enough the longest.
You did that quite quickly, the 40%. And it looks pretty accurate.
Thanks,
obviously. Bro. Did you do cartography? Have you looked at maps before? Top down? You know the lay of the land?
Well,
you're easily able to figure it out?
I think I have been looking at maps for the last 4 years on PUBG Mobile.
Yeah, you've basically learned cartography from that.
Yeah, pretty much. I could map out a region.
Yeah, it's funny. At Blank's house, you walk in, he literally just has all of the map screen layouts all over his house.
Yeah.
It's like that meme, you know, where they're just pointing. Where is they? Where are they? Where are they? You know the one? I can't remember who it is, but you know what I mean. That
I know
meme.
what you're saying.
You know the meme.
I know the meme.
Yeah,
I know
that's
what
your
you're
house,
saying.
bro. That's you with a conspiracy board of just PUBG
Oh,
maps.
yeah, where he's like this.
Yeah.
Charlie Day.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Perfect.
Pepe Salvia. He's trying to find it. That's Blank for PUBG Mobile Chicken Dinner.
I've just got drop spots galore in the household. The wallpaper is just Orango.
It actually is. It's very pretty, honestly.
thank you.
It suits your style. You got nice little trees as well, foliage in the house.
Yeah. I live outside.
Yeah, it feels that way.
Right now, some of these teams do feel like they're living outside in the cold in terms of the point scoring, at least, down towards the bottom of the tables. And it is a little bit sparse right now. I mean, you go down from 16th place and the drop-off's pretty big, where a lot of other teams have soaked up these points, and it feels sort of fair where we're going to be placing a lot of our survival teams. Kag Osaka losing a player early on here. First elimination going to Havlik from the Moneymakers. This is down towards the southwest side of the map with Kag playing in Primorsk.
I'd be curious to see how this one pans out then as well, because we've had quite a different sort of tempo over the few days. Obviously, we've been on the later games, so everyone's sort of warming up a bit, and also you're a bit more antsy because you know those opportunity to accumulate points are fewer and further between. So we've seen some snap-second decision-making, and for a few of these squads today, especially with the changes, it'll be interesting to see if that's something that could affect them a little bit, if that rationale where you're trying to prioritize how you play it is a little bit maybe more jittery, I suppose, in terms of how you figure those moves out. So we'll see. Like you say, though, but I was actually kind of okay with how Power played that one. Like, Al Hadji was hitting some blinders, but the problem was you were just swamped with other squads around you. They felt a little bit out of position through potentially no fault of their own. But, yeah, always rooting for a bit of power action.
It was a tough spot on the map, honestly. I think that you had to take up some strong positions early on. I think IHC as well as TJB both make a correct decision to head towards the west side. And just pick up those spots rather trying to fight for Painan. Because it did look like it was going to be a Painan finish. And we got that hard shift over to the west side. And it was just a case of where does that shift go on the circle and who's going to win off the back of it. I think IHC sets themselves up for a win really well. But it necessarily wasn't a game where they would have won without that shift. So I do respect a lot of the teams that tried to make it through. Their team, Liquid especially, I think they played out their retrieval of what could have been a bad situation quite easily.
Yeah, from that opening, like, what, minute and a half, it looked rough, where you're just thinking, all right, you're down to a 3 immediately. For him to have the legs on it to actually withstand for that long. And potentially, mate, a couple shots of difference. Maybe if the circle goes their way a little bit, could have been better for them. Could have been even better. So hopefully that is just a start to the day, and they can start getting some points going. Or your prediction for Team Liquid in that #1 spot come the end of the event might not look so good.
Oh, dude, I know. Right now they're right on the cusp, though. 13th place. Anything can happen over 3 days, I think. But right now they're certainly not displaying as the best team in the lobby. I think that's pretty clear right now. And I'm not afraid to say that.
No, that's okay. You'd be a liar.
I would be a straight liar. I'd be a straight liar. And I think there are just better teams currently in the lobby who are playing much more consistently than them. I guess like a case of, look, they've lost a player early quite a few times, but that's still a mistake that you're making. I think they're doing some pretty aggressive scouting, and losing players off the back of that is never ideal. Vampire's playing this weird playstyle where they will be out in the blue for a long, long time too, so they're not being as aggressive as we've seen them in the past, just taking names in the circle. Talon have been a bit of a surpriser, 53 points currently. Still 5 more matches to play for them too, so again, another team that could do fairly well here.
Yeah, they've looked pretty good, actually. And I've noticed the camaraderie amongst them, like the way they're operating even outside of the games when we get towards the end of the day. The vibe in the team looks good. It feels like they bounce off each other really well, so there's clearly some good energy there. And it always helps, man. You're keeping yourself dialed in, picking each other up, give it some gas when someone's playing well. That mentality can be so huge for us. Yeah, Talon, if they can maintain that, it would be sick. You'd like to see it. They've been picking their fights well.
Next circle. Zone 2, after our initial encircling, let's say. Alpha 7 currently up towards North George, but very central circle, I would say, on this one. Heads towards a lot of teams have already made their way in. I think this is fairly forgiving for quite a few squads. There's still some water in this one, but not enough that it would make players complain. I do like when Moneymakers are playing, setting themselves up on that ridge on the west side. It's a decent spot to play. I think what we're looking at the moment is DRX trying to set up in that compound that is towards that south side that we saw 4MV playing just yesterday, I believe it was.
You got Liquid on the move on screen as well. I've been touching on hoping for a bit of a better one here today. Going into game 2. Still feels kind of crazy we're on game 2, but early shift for this. And it's been delivering with the early momentum. It's cool to see everyone getting sort of dialed in immediately as they came into the STC arena as well and got themselves sat down. And that's Talon that we were talking about that are coming down all the way top side. Slowly making their way in towards the zone now. You've got Alpha 7 ahead of you. Alula IHC as well down there. And man, every time I look over to that map screen, I just see Tulika staring out at me. It's like a beacon that draws my eyes in. And he did deliver yesterday. But again, bro, like it's just one of those where you want Tulika to have that extra support from the rest of the squad. And sometimes it feels like it isn't there as much as you'd expect it to be.
I think there's a team that gets in their own head very easily as well, just with some of the mentalities on that team, the personalities themselves. And I think for Mad Bulls, that game really crushed their confidence because I think it was a well-played game, a good innings in terms of making a bad situation into a good one, only to get backstabbed twice and leave both players on the high ground to just one dude. Pretty painful, pretty unreasonable, and I think that has really cut their gameplay quite a bit. 25 points is a struggle position to be in. This is where you need a big chicken dinner towards the beginning of the day. And I would say that's one of these 2 angles that we'll be doing. You'd need to see them pop off in those for them to have that like good chance where you don't feel too nervous going into that 6th game.
And Inco, they hopped out and were looking to edge guard somewhat on the rotate. They caught whiff of Vampire, but they go wide and look like they have been able to bypass them at least, make their move round. Meanwhile, Lula IHC do take a first connection off the back of Talon. Ooh, that's isolated as well. You can crash straight into the building. Make sure you confirm that one. Grab the elim off the back of it. Hell, even the Overwatch was making that one look easy.
Yeah, bro, 100%. For the Talon, that was an easy pickup. Alpha 7 off in the distance. This is a good position to be playing out the rest of the game. IHC, though, losing a player, not ideal. They can try and gatekeep. They have this warehouse to play around with, but they still are on the northern side. And our next circle's coming in too, which again, very reasonable. Not a lot has changed in terms of the space that teams are playing. It's just, again, pushing everyone slowly but surely closer to one another. But we are moving away from that compound that sits on that south side. Just more of these compounds, I would say, that's on this road that snakes through the map in the center, which is going to be pretty big to move around with. And Mad Bull's already got a pretty strong one to play around with here. I like this position. Yes, they have the overlook coming through from DRX above them, but still, strong spot to play. A lot of good sight lines that look out towards this north and south side.
They've got the read on it. They know where the fight could be coming from. And Tulicker, I said his name before, he saw the opportunity to get stuck in against TJB. And even DRX can take pot shots downhill from the elevated angle as well and apply more pressure onto them. And you see it with a map screen, how closely grouped everyone is, fighting over actually having viable cover to play off of.
TJB in a slightly rougher situation, I would say. I mean, this compound's nice. It will keep them safe for a while, but it's not the most defensible of positions. Again, some other teams are just going to be out in the open, so can only say so much about that. I mean, they have a roof over their heads.
It could be worse.
It could be worse. It could be worse. But a lot of teams try and play around this ridge side on the western edge. Difficult, though, because you know at some point with the way this circle's going, you're likely going to have to pass through the fields that sit on that west side, where you have DRX, Mad Bulls, TJB all looking that way. Kago Saka, who lost a player earlier on and making their way up from that southern edge. And you know that Moneymakers know about this. They already took a shot towards them, removed one of their players from the team, so they should have the read on a play like this one. And Mattoon is getting dangerously close to their location.
Yeah, he really is pushing up. Ahead of the pack. He's got a little bit of backup at least. But Moneymakers, off the back of the prior game, probably want to try and give themselves some extra stock in this one. See if they can get some more points accumulated. Already finding one elim point into this outing so far. Needing to climb those rankings. Down in 15 at the minute. Overall spread looking good. Pro team as well, keeping it a bit further back. The Bros have had some ups and downs, dude, and it feels like a few of these situations, it's been a very slippery slope for them. The talent's been there in some of the individual fights, but it's the positioning for me that keeps me guessing.
Yeah, again, for Bro Harami, it feels like they make some good decisions and then suddenly make a bad one for no apparent reason. And I think that is the difficulty because I think they get nervous about some of the positions that they take. They're worried that it's not the best from the circle. I think a lot of times you just have to commit to that decision. I think some of the teams in this lobby are very good at that. Tiamba, for instance, D plus Kia in a similar way.
Yeah, okay.
You know, they'll just pick a position and be like, look, this might be not ideal for the rest of the game, but we can certainly find some value off this one. very hard northeast shift. And for Vampire, who were out in the blue for a long time, it's worked out for them really well. And they have this compound that sits just to the south side of Everest here to work with, and still some high ground that Stone's playing over towards the craggy rocks towards that top side. Talon, though, rocking up towards IHC, coming off the good game, but it's Axel to open this one up.
Getting pressure on. Nades being cast out as well. They know about the potential of the elevated angles. Players could be up tops. You got to contend with it. Drop down. Here we go. Aula IHC starting to clap back. See if they can build off this. Talon in the rear though, and the nades rattle on over. That's going to be a bit of a shutdown, and not in the direction you would have thought it was going. Aula IHC removed from the equation. Yet the first chicken dinner, but you damn right ain't taking another one.
Taking them out. Top side removed already. Lovely to see from them, honestly, which is good. But there's a lot of action all breaking out as Moneymakers, in fact, make their way over towards this position now. You've got the boys coming through. IC will find one here, Jackie.
Here we go then, Moneymakers. They want to try and accumulate some wealth on this one. Running through the top spot, and Talon down and out. Moneymakers taking hits back though. Oh, and there's nades coming on over. This is Boom that are getting stuck here. Bringing out not only the nades, but the shotgun to support it as well, as they're going to be able to fight their way through this. Missed shots up close, and boom. We were saying that they can bring a bit more punch to the game, Blank, and that's how they're going to show it. All right, we're not going to have that much downtime either. You got the nice establishing shot here, giving you the lay of the land. Team Liquid have already doubled further back. We get Falcons hopping in the vehicles and looking to advance.
Yeah, Bro Harami, just make that move. And I think they could have made it a lot more slowly. Again, it's a case where they should have known that realistically there's going to be teams in this location taking up that compound. And I think they just think they have to go for that crash. But scouting it a little bit later, a little bit earlier, sorry, and getting the nades over, maybe some smokes to make that a bit of an easier transition. Just odd gameplay right now for this team. Falcons, though, from the back of not a terrible game for themselves over on Sandhawk, but they're dangerously close to IWNRX, who are sandwiching them between them and Team Liquid.
Seeing if they can keep them penned in. Ooh. Bullets into the back line. Falcons saw that opportunity to take shots towards the vehicle, though. IWNRX, they have to hop straight back in, try and clear that line of sight and get into a good spot. Falcons will not give them that opportunity. That's the last second knock, as that one will be grabbed in the end. Kago Saka also on the move. And this is what you're going to be running into. You might get away from one squad, but there's another team on the other side. DRX, tucked in behind the vehicles. That's only going to provide you cover for so long, as the bullets blow it straight up and remove that man down. Alpha 7 also take hits.
Good explosion on the vehicle there, Jackie. We'll take down one. Chief goes down once again. Cardozen gets a good spray off. The team is almost alive, but a shot from the side will take down the rest of Falcons here. But Team Liquid looking brazen, fighting two teams at the same time. Mythic is able to make it happen. What a fight just occurred. Again, fighting on two fronts seems to be Team Liquid's mentality, but in comes Boom from the side. It just never stops for this team.
Oh man, they're not giving them any opportunity to get the heels in. The constant pressure that's being applied, squad after squad. Although Liquid fight as hard as they can, they might have fallen at the final hurdle here. You're in a rough spot. Two players pushing up, looking to see if he can play medic whilst their focus is put onto Boom instead. And the real Boom is the nades that are raining down on top. Low HP off the contact. DRX really just want to finish this one off. They don't want the fight to go on for much longer, and that's the finishing piece.
6 elims, Team Liquid. Honestly, I would say not a bad result, considering the fact that they were just assaulted by several squads. In comes the mad balls, and DRX seem to have just not noticed the other team that's in their camp right now. Flique moves forward, nade over the top, might get the splash onto the back of him, and it will hit him hard, but it's just QXZ. This has been an unreal fight on the southwest side. It's been action into action into action, and TJB are closing the gap as well.
Wait, the fight that does not stop. The never-ending story here, with opportunities appearing around the map. Alpha 7 consistently putting blitz down range onto TJB that at this point are crumbling hard, losing any of the HP they had to work with. The nades are rattling in. Vampire are also mid-bout, and it just does not stop. There's the pickup on TJB as they'll commit for that one. And Alpha 7, 5 elim points in the back pocket as they clean house there. Kag Osaka. This is the fight that we saw against Vampire. They got the first contact off. Were able to deal some damage and shut him down a bit. They get the man back up, but he's low HP. Luckily tops himself back up to full. So he's going to be in a better spot for this. But Vampire, they got the spread. They got the understanding. And they got nades to help them out.
Ooh, a double at the same time. Nice nade from the side. Another nade goes through over towards Naoto. Power's also chiming in, looking to clean house. And I think Vampire were able to secure the majority of those eliminations. Yes, they were. And again, with Vampire playing on this north side, they had so much room to work with, so much time to scout. This should be a Vampire win if they play their cards right. Mad Bulls desperately trying to extricate themselves from this valley that they've been inset towards. But it's Al Haji from Power taking shots. They find Tony K. He's in a bad position. Can he be rescued?
This is going to be a big problem now. Power coming online. They take down the star man, the wonder child of Vampire. Keeping them, guessing with how to play this one. You didn't expect Power to find the opportunity, but they certainly have. Everyone else just trying to build themselves some kind of cover, some opportunity to break the line of sights, dashing out the smokes, backing themselves up, and only really wanting to engage if it's a worthwhile fight. For Dan's also moving up, but he's clearing so many angles. You can see the paranoia on the map screen, everyone trying to clear because of how closely grouped they are with limited cover between them.
Yeah, Vampire, Tony K takes a really aggressive off angle there, gets punished for it, and now Power's in an even better spot for themselves in this compound. They can just take pot shots at everyone from. Again, we were speaking about the rotations. It looked smarter from Power on that last game, and it's paying off here. Mad Bulls has to wait for this next shift, though, hoping people have to move in, but that circle encompasses most teams other than Alpha 7, which is the real true threat to the Mad Bulls at the moment as they rotate in. Boom has got the oversight, and they're just going to have to razz this one in the vehicle, and I think they've only got one. What is that spray, though?
Oh, mate, you said Alpha 7 with the true threat, but in reality, it's Boom that bring the heat straight out. Elevated peak just on the off angle. Firing off those shots. Dealing so much damage onto him. Consistently spamming into the smokes with such little health pool to work with between them. Barely a thin shroud of the plumage of the smoke. Giving them some kind of lifeline. One that's probably going to tick out very soon.
Got to pass back all the supplies here. But I highly doubt English is getting out of this situation alive. The spray looked pretty on point. Yumi's got a good idea, just spraying across here, trying to catch a bullet onto the Rogue member still left in. And we'll get it just as we look away. Mad Bulls go out with 2 elims from what started out to be a pretty decent game. Alpha 7, 4 players alive on this northwest edge, taking shots over towards Power, looking to potentially move on in. They softened them up.
Will that be enough? That's the big question. They've got nades to arc on out, and they seem to have expected the push-up from Vampire as well. They're looking to bring down the wall, stop them from getting close. From smoke to smoke, they start to sliver their way further forward, looking for a better angle from the backside where there's limited cover, where they would be exposed to take those hits. You've got the move up on the vehicle as well. There's a man from Inco lying in the wings as well, and the rest of the squad is still alive and kicking. Problems could arise on this one as everyone is being moved up forward.
Revo's got a good idea on the location. Trying to toss them further in towards the backside of that smoke. Knocks the car out the way. But McGrellin taken down on the rotate. That's from Boom once again. You're having an absolute powerhouse of a game here. Just constantly finding these pickoffs. Going to the market and they're bringing back points.
They're taking everything they want. Taking it off the shelf and putting it straight into the backpack, and they don't even really need to be in a position where they can take heavy damage. They've got range and they are utilizing it perfectly. Vampire, finally the nades start to connect from Alpha 7, but they're still taking so many shots. They're getting softened up, and this really is a fight for survival between the two of them, and it's not looking that great for Vampire right now.
I respect that from Power as well, because they see that Alpha 7's taking some shots towards them. Suddenly they're popped up, engaged with another fight there, and Power is not going to let them get away with it for free. So as soon as they see McGrellin start to make that rotate, they're not going to play scared inside the building. They're going to start taking some pot shots towards them. Another nade comes through, not quite on McGrellin to flush him out. He's just trying to stay safe behind this rock, but Vampire back up to quite a few. They have a read on the location of Alpha 7, getting in the back of the buggy, attempting to get some information over the top, but Inko, Power, two teams that just constantly are rattling off shots.
Every time you peak, your confidence is wiped away because you realize you're exposing yourself to so many other angles. And being forced to move eventually for Alpha 7, it could be a real detriment to their health. You would be exposed to Power, exposed to Boom. Inko realize they can just keep themselves sitting pretty right now and not get stuck into fights. Don't make yourself a target if you don't need to. And for Vampire, man, they really do need a vampiric burst in this one. Some kind of lifeline to get them back in. They've got to take fate by their own hands.
Exactly, Jackie. I mean, the same could be said for Power. For Alpha 7, they're looking fairly happy up towards the top with 60 points right now, but it's Power who understand that this game means an awful lot to them. Same to Vampire, 37 points, getting some more points on this game. Pumping those numbers up would see them in a much better position towards the end of the day, but Power, on the other hand, 21st place currently. A game like this, a fair few eliminations would be huge. Alhaji, once again, is the main man himself, catches a hook as the vehicle comes through, and Boom's bruised.
Heavy is the hand of Alhaji. Turns and does damage on entry. Boom thought they had everything in their basket. Staying back for so long and only taking opportune engagements. You can't do that when the zone moves against you. As they usher forward, they take heavy casualties and are now in a real rough spot for this one, just down to a solo to look to try and make issues arise. Alpha 7, 3 players in the squad. They find opportunities to take elims here and there, but it's been this elongated bout with no one really wanting to over-engage and make the mistake versus Vampire. Starting to run low on nades on a few of them as well because the constant cast out from either one of them. Molly's close.
Stone feels the burn close to his face, singes the hair a little bit, but he'll get away. Another nade goes through. Both of them too short, too long. As Revo just sits on the cusp of this one. Vampire trying to stay alive here. Power, the Saudi Arabian representatives, just sitting pretty in their shack. It's going back and forth now.
Here we go then, the fight's starting to kick off. Power stance is pulled out from every one of them. Vampire finally sink the teeth in as they go aggro. Shots back on target for Alpha 7, causing problems, starting to get them down. Vampire realize they got to play medic, but they've been able to at least clean up on the real core of the issue. Alpha 7 down and out. We rattle off another squad and leave us with 4 remaining.
We're going to test the fortitude here of Power now as they're assaulted on both sides with the solo from Boom behind. And Inko now coming in to claim a piece of the land here that Power has been having an overpowering presence over. So you get up towards the ridge side. How do they play out this game? They've got an awesome compound to work with, but can they have an awesome finish?
Inko, they have the split. They've been so far back for so long, but now the tables turn. The shotgun lying in wait by the doorway for an opportunity. If Power reveal themselves, overcommit onto a fight, if Vampire draw their attention, the backstab, the burst from Inko could cause problems. Alhaji switched on to it. Boom down and out. The last man finished off. There's the peak again as they start to strike in. You're causing problems. Power, they're bringing the energy up. Inko lose another man. They're starting to switch on him, Blank.
Power sees everything in this lobby right now. They've got the divining rods here on the player's location. Inko's running away, but Power's not going to let them get away so easily. Chasing them down into the smoke. Shrouded they might be, but Power's going to blow a hole.
They jump in the vehicle, they go for the push. The first man loses out on contact though, but there's an instantaneous clap back. Inko, all on one, and the vital signs are plummeting. Power in a better position to close it, and that's what they're gonna do. Alhaji with the final piece, and a chicken dinner for Power.
Looks so different from this team coming into the day. Straight onto a chicken dinner, great rotations, great calls. Amazing control of that final circle from the compound. So many places they could have been assaulted from as well on that ridge side. And unafraid at the end as well, Jackie. That's the big thing I like about that one. Inko starts to dash away, realizes they've made a grave mistake. And instead, Power shows them directly to their grave.
It's mad. You thought maybe there was an opportunity there. They're sneaking up. The second you're like, right, they've got to deal with Vampire. What do? They deal with them. Instant turnaround, bullets on target, and they were not playing scared. They were playing with the utmost confidence, and the showmanship on the stage already comes out. Alhaji waving to the fans, and that is a huge win for them.
Yeah, Al Happy's back, definitely. That's a big game, one they desperately needed. That pumps them up to around about a 40-point average. Well, not a 40-point average, but a 40-point total, which is what they needed, right? Again, I said that for Vampire as well as Power, it needs to be something that happens early in the day to give them that chance of heading towards the top side of the table. I'm really happy for them, man. I'm a big fan of Power.
Yeah, they do play with such an electric style of PUBG Mobile. And when it works so well. But the positioning was on point this time around. The circle works in their favor. And they knew they didn't have to overcommit, you know? So many fights that went on for minutes, Blank. Minutes, where they sat there biding their time, thinking about the big picture, the chicken dinner.
That is the big picture, and at the end of the day, that's what you want to see. And even you saw there in that final moment some great smokes coming through. It's not all just that aggression, some good smokes.